Welcome to Fearless with Jason Whitlock. I am Jason Whitlock, your host. Thank you so much for joining me. We have an amazing Thursday show for you today. Thank you again for joining me. If you're listening over Apple, I need you to give me that 5-star review on Apple. It's very important as we fight the algorithm. It's going to be very important, too, because today's show is going to be so amazing. We're going to talk about the events that happened at Tennessee State University on Tuesday. The video of that, I think, spilled out yesterday when a group of black racists attacked a handful of white young men that showed up on their campus and did what Steven Crowder and Charlie Kirk have done, tried to host a debate. And this is going to be a demonstration of just how how things have reversed, the shoes on the other foot, the kind of racism, anti-black racism that we used to see in the 1940s, 50s, and 60s is now the kind of anti-white racism we see in 2025 in what are called black spaces. This happened at Tennessee State right here in Nashville. I used to live 7 minutes from Tennessee State's campus, have been there several times for basketball games and other events. This is embarrassing what happened at Tennessee State, but of course the university is defending the young people that surrounded and harassed and ran these handful of white guys off their campus. We will discuss that with TJ Moe, Shamika Michelle, and Virgil Walker. One of the young men that was there at Tennessee State University, I think I'm saying his name right, David Khait, Khait. I'll get a full explanation from David, or pronunciation from David, but he's going to join us to tell us about the experience. Back half of the show, we'll talk some sports with Steve Kim. C.J. Stroud has taken the habit of wearing New York Yankees and Seattle Mariners hats, and Houston Astros fans, where Stroud's a Houston Texan quarterback, but the Houston Astros fans there in Houston don't like what Stroud is doing. We'll ask Steve Kim, is this something or nothing? Bill Belichick and Jordon Hudson, they're on the cover of Us Weekly, or I think it's Us Weekly, Us Magazine, Us Weekly, something like that. Gene Chizik is taking some real strong shots at Bill Belichick and Jordon Hudson. Matt Shaw, a Chicago Cubs player, has been chastised by Cubs broadcasters, I believe. I think these were Cubs broadcasters, chastised for skipping a game to attend Charlie Kirk's funeral. And Keith Olbermann has offered up an apology to Scott Jennings. We'll discuss that, our reaction to that. I want to thank, before I get into my little opening presentation monologue here, I want to thank the people at Kindred Tea, which I'm enjoying right now. It's necessary. You guys know I've been struggling a little bit this week. This tea is helping me out. Most of the tea you guys are drinking is absolute trash. They're loaded with microplastics and heavy metals, and most of it's coming from China. Big Pharma doesn't care. The Chinese tea industry doesn't care. If it makes you sick, that's good for them. But Kindred Harvest is different. This is American. It's blended and packed right here in the United States. No microplastics, no toxins. Third-party lab tested. Even the tea bags are 100% biodegradable, glue-free, ink-free. It's just clean, all-natural tea. From that morning cup that gets you moving to caffeine-free tea that helps you wind down at night. Even iced tea your kids will love. Kindred Harvest is tea the way God intended, pure, honest, healthy. Choose American quality over foreign contamination. Choose Kindred Harvest. Go to kindredharvest.co. That's kindredharvest.co, just C-O, and use my promo code FEARLESS for 20% off. That's kindredharvest.co, promo code FEARLESS. Kindred Harvest, cultivating goodness daily. We take another sip of tea. And let's talk about the plague that is taking over America. And you can see it right here in Nashville, Tennessee, at Tennessee State University. a handful of white guys show up on campus, set up a table saying something about import all illegal immigrants. And the table, they put signs in front of the table, and DEI should be eliminated or illegal or something like that. And they start out having a nice, respectful conversation, and then eventually it descends into total chaos where they're escorted off campus by police, chased down by a mob of angry black students with their cell phones out filming everything like they're documenting this great war and this great conflict, but they're shouting, they're yelling. It got really intense. And of course, the adults all reached the wrong conclusion when this happened and actually defended the young black college students that chased 3 or 4 white guys off their campus. This is racism, people. Period. End of story. We've seen it before. We saw it in the 1950s and 60s, just like there was a white KKK. Now there's a black KKK, and it is pervasive. Pervasive. That some people on this college, white guy showed up that has a different opinion than me. And how dare they come onto our campus? Anyway, I want to start. I want to give you some more context. I want to start with a 7-minute video. We won't play the whole thing, or I'll start and stop it at some point. But I think this guy's name is Cam Higbee that's unpacking, like, hey, here's what happened. We were having this nice, respectful debate on this college campus, and then it just kept escalating and escalating and escalating. And so we're going to start with shot number 1, and I'll let it play probably for 2 or 3 minutes, because it just gives you the background, like, here's how it started, and here's where it ended up. Let's play shot 1.
So what part of our systems is for people of color?
All of it. The entire system is for everybody. Anybody who's an American citizen.
So you feel like there's nothing. So you feel like everybody is equal.
Yeah. I mean, everybody's equal in their rights, but not everybody's obviously equal in their, what they have. Like, I grew up in a double-wide trailer. He grew up in Boca Raton, so, we didn't grow up equal. We're both white. I mean, he's a Jew, so that's probably why he grew up in Boca Raton. But so we're not equal in what we possess as we start, always. But we are equal in what we're allowed to do, our opportunity.
Can I ask you, do you think that there's any law that allows me to do something that you can't do, for example?
I don't think there's any laws that say that you can do something that I can't. But then again, this system can't be ignored. Like, we can't just say it does not exist, because there are countless examples of it existing.
Maybe just one example of what you're talking about. So what's wrong with the system that allows, I guess, racism to be systemic or institutionalized?
I mean, I would argue the opposite. Like, again, we have civil rights acts on top of civil rights acts, in addition to the 14th Amendment's Equal Protection Clause. 14th Amendment being written for the sole purpose of expanding and equalizing the rights of white people and black people. And furthermore, the 14th Amendment Equal Protection Clause echoes exactly what, like, the Civil Rights Act says, right? You cannot be discriminated based on your inalienable characteristics, like your race, your sex, your sexuality, etc.
But even though we have these laws, that doesn't stop it from happening. We still know that.
You're right, racism does happen still, even though there are laws that ban it. And I think that those laws are oftentimes used to enforce a culture of anti-racism in the United States. We actually cancel people for being racist all the time. But we have in the system, as far as the system goes, you can't stop people from being racist on an individual level, unfortunately. It happens in every country, on every continent, all around the world, and it has since the beginning of time. But what you can do is make it illegal to institutionalize it by saying, you can't allow you have to allow everybody to eat at your restaurant. You can't not admit people based on their color. You can't prioritize people based on their color, etc. And I would say that I would say getting rid of DEI works towards that objective.
So y'all had say make America great again. How do y'all feel that America is not great, and how do y'all feel that America can be great again? And when was it great?
Yeah, I would say that the most recent example of America being great was the first term of Donald Trump. And then we had 4 years of Joe Biden in chaos, and then Trump is president again. So this is his campaign hat for his, lead up to his second term.
Let's hit pause right there. Let's hit pause right there. So you're looking at 3 men behave as men, having a debate, having a discussion. This is normal. This is what should be going on college campuses. When there was this great push for diversity in America, this is what people dreamed of. That, hey, there would be some black guy from some community, who knows, maybe he's from the suburbs, maybe he's from the hood, and then he would engage with some white guy. This white guy says he grew up in a double-wide trailer. He's saying one of the other white guys grew up in Boca Raton with some wealth. He's saying one of the white guys is Jewish. This is allegedly what the left says utopia is. This is what the left says they want. Diversity. And people coming together and having respectful conversations despite their disagreements. This is 3 men, young men, having this debate out in public. This is healthy. This is good. Let's continue the tape. Stop the tape. Stop the tape. Oh, I'm sorry. Stop the tape. Did you see what happened there? A crowd starts to gather. It's mostly women. And then a woman comes and does something inappropriate. Those 2 guys just had a respectful conversation with another man. A woman comes up, and they got 2 signs sitting in front of the table, and she pulls it down, knocks them to the ground. Yesterday, when you heard me talking about Nina Westbrook, Russell Westbrook's wife, and I started talking about that Jezebel spirit, I started talking about her nature from the garden. How can I stir up drama and conflict? This isn't, I'm just speaking facts here. You'll sit there, oh, he hates women. No, I'm telling you about the nature of people. Women, they love drama. We just saw 3 men having a conversation, a disagreement. And the next thing you know, here comes that snake from the garden, snaking her way into the conversation. Let me tear something down. Let me escalate this event. Continue the tape.
Come on,
Another woman.
come on, really?
Stop
Seriously?
the tape. Stop the tape. Second woman comes up, steals something, and runs away. Steals the sign and runs away. This is the second one. Continue to play the tape.
Yo.
Okay. Now I got it. Stop the tape. Stop the tape. Young man, oh, the women are stealing things. Let me go steal something. Let me go steal the sign. And then the little guy in the wife beater, black shirt, he's all gassed up, talking real salty, because there's a big mob behind him. Guarantee you this guy, if it was a one-on-one situation, would be quiet as a church mouse. But because there's a big crowd behind him, he jumps in front. You better not. You better not. This whole thing is escalating. Who threw the match? The women. And I'm not singling them out and blaming them, but it is what it is. I've seen this a million times. Woman throws the match, And now all the men hop in and try, let me show you how masculine I am. I'm going to protect black women. I'm going to feed off their energy. I'm going to follow their lead. These guys, the most masculine thing these guys think they can do is follow the energy and lead of a black woman. They'll claim we was kings, we was kings. But there's no king in them. There's no leadership in them. There's no, hey, I'm a man, I know what I'm doing here, let me play chess with guys that have invited me to a game of chess. No, the women inject checkers into the game. And so the men, they play checkers to impress the women. Continue with the tape.
Guys, we're literally just here to have civil discussions.
Look at this gang of women.
Bring the sign back.
Still another sign, another one. This is insanity. Look, a mob of women with black men, young black men, backing them up. Look how ignorant and chaotic this gets instantly, and emotional that this gets. Let's start chanting. Hey, I'm incapable of debating you. I'm incapable of engaging with you in a respectful manner. Let's just start chanting. Let's get super aggressive, and let's whip out our cell phones. Next thing you know, the police have to start escorting these guys off campus with the mob chasing them. Their crime was talking respectfully and expressing their ideas.
We got 500 right here watching.
That was their crime.
This is insane. What the heck?
Cut the tape. When you hear me talk about the matriarchy and a matriarchal culture and the dangers of it and why you should run from it and why many of you are justified in saying, hey, look, I don't want to be around them. Again, you're describing it as a skin color. I'm telling you, it's not a skin color, it's the matriarchy. It's matriarchal chaos. Tennessee State University is, I believe, based on what I looked up this morning, it's an 80% black college. 65% of those students are women. 35% are men. Their school president is now a guy named Dwayne Tucker. He's been in the job for a few months. They've had some turnover and upheaval at Tennessee State, some financial difficulties. Their longtime president was a woman named Glenda Evans, Glenda something, Davies. So, it's a woman. She's president for, 7, 8, 9, 10 years. She stepped down and retired, negotiated some sort of financial settlement that paid her nearly $2 million and put her in some advisory role. And this Dwayne Tucker has kind of was in the interim role and now has been given the job permanently. But he's inherited a feminized administration, one that this Glenda woman had put together, one that's reflective of their student population of 65% women. So let's guess how the administration responded. No one signed a name to it, but I want, not the NAACP statement, I want to read the statement from the school, I believe. Yeah, here's Tennessee State statement. After These three white guys set up a table and tried to have a debate on their campus and got swarmed and threatened and harassed off their campus by, at some point, it looked like maybe 100 of their students. And I think this school has 6,000 students. This is what Tennessee State had to say. Today, a group of individuals unaffiliated with Tennessee State University appeared on campus without prior notice. In accordance with university policy, any demonstration or protest activity requires advance approval and permitting. So let's stop there. Protest activity or demonstration. These guys set up a table and put a sign in front of it and put a microphone for people to debate them the way Charlie Kirk, Stephen Crowder. They do this at white college campuses all the time. This is commonplace. But if you're white and want to debate Tennessee State students, you need a written permission, you need legal authority to do that. This is insanity. This is a group of people that are basically saying they don't want to be treated like anybody else. They want segregation unless you're willing to come there and affirm any and everything that they believe. They don't want a society where free speech and the expression of ideas are allowed. These are fascists, feminists, Marxists, idiots. Let me continue with their statement. Campus police and staff responded promptly, and the individuals were escorted from university grounds without incident. At all times, Tennessee State students conducted themselves in a professional and respectful manner. Let me pause here. There's an insanity and a delusion that permeates a matriarchal, controlled culture. And I know that they have a male president, but trust me, he's been immersed in the feminist doctrine. He is a male feminist. He has no choice. If he wants to survive in his marriage, if he wants to survive as a school administrator, he's surrounded by feminist black women who believe they're queens. And he knows that if he doesn't stand up for them, right or wrong, he will get eviscerated. To argue that these kids who are stealing things that aren't theirs, knocking over things that aren't theirs, flipping people off, giving them the bird, shouting them down, they acted professionally at all times? Are you kidding me? The safety and well-being of our students, faculty, and staff remain our highest priority. TSU will continue to uphold university policies and ensure that campus remains a safe, welcoming, and orderly environment for all members of our community. Doesn't care about people, how people that are treated that visit our community, doesn't care how they're treated. Here's a statement, I believe, from this directly from the TSU president. Dear TSU community, this afternoon, a group not affiliated with TSU, identifying themselves as Fearless Debates, appeared on campus without approval or notice. It has been brought to our attention that Fearless Debates has visited several other universities across the country. At TSU, the group carried poster boards with messages such as "Deport all illegals now," and "DEI should be illegal." The presence of hostile groups on our campus is not merely a political statement. It is an attempt to draw attention to their views by creating visibility at the expense of Tennessee State University students. While we recognize and uphold the constitutional right to free speech, we also understand there is a difference between exercising this right and engaging in actions that seek to disrupt, demean, and incite fear within our community. TSU Police Department, Metro Police Department, and staff responded swiftly by assessing the situation for any potential threat, de-escalated and escorted the individuals from university grounds without incident. TSU will not tolerate attempts to undermine the safety or value of our community. We stand in solidarity with our students and staff. We remain committed to ensuring our campus is a sanctuary for dialogue and education. As of this evening, we continue our investigation and are reviewing all video footage to determine how the individuals gained access to our campus. Thank you for your vigilance and for standing united in the face of provocation. The office of the president. I used to live minutes away. I could walk to TSU's campus and could walk on TSU's campus. This whole deal, like that these guys had to build an underground tunnel and plot some breaking and entering or home invasion to get on Tennessee State's campus. That's a joke, and they know it. It ain't hard. And anyone with a brain knows that those students did not behave professionally and honorably. They made fools of themselves. But there's no accountability in a matriarchal culture. And I'm not excusing this president. He's a cuck. I looked up his background. The guy used to be a nightclub owner. This is back in the 70s, but used to be a nightclub owner. You know, he's some kind of a little bit, you know, his nightclubs were successful for a while, then they weren't. And somehow he got into the education field with charter schools. I don't know. But he's in over his head, and he's given the position because he's in over his head, and he's been dropped into a very matriarchal environment. 65% of the students are women. His administrative staff was built for the former female president. And so all the feedback he got was protect black women. Yes, black women created chaos on this campus today, but we must protect them at all costs. Run from the matriarchy. Black Americans are the lab rats for the matriarchy. It's a hot mess. There's only chaos coming from it. There's only feminized men coming from it. There's only out of control, mouthy women coming from it. These are facts. I'm sorry that they're harsh facts. They're not proof that I hate black people. No, I hate the matriarchy because God does. Don't speak for God. God prefers male leadership, advises for it, set up a system for male leadership. Black people and half of white America are in total objection to male leadership and think that if we had female leadership, the world would be better. No, it would look like Tennessee State University. No, it would look like any of these urban cities that are controlled by gangs. Here's the NAACP of Nashville. And by the way, we requested an interview with the Tennessee State president, Dwayne Tucker. We was told he was not available today. Put in a request for the president of the NAACP from Nashville to come on the show. He doesn't appear to be available. But let's hear from Nashville's NAACP branch what they had to say about this. This incident was not an isolated act of political expression. It was an intentional effort to antagonize, disrupt, and instill fear in a space created to be safe, affirming, and supportive of black students. While we recognize and respect that free speech is a constitutional right, there is a clear and urgent distinction between constructive dialogue and rhetoric deliberately designed to provoke, demean, and endanger the psychological safety of students at HBCUs. These students are so weak, according to their leaders, that their psychological safety is violated when white people disagree with them. Or black people, to be honest, because I think all illegals should be deported, and I think they should end DEI. And that probably violates the psychological safety of those students because their leaders are so weak that their psychological safety is violated when someone disagrees with them. You can't build a properly functioning, well-organized society based on the matriarchy, founded in the matriarchy. Doesn't matter what color the matriarchy is, it's the matriarchy. It's going to lean into drama and chaos. It's going to lean into feelings. It's going to create a hot mess. Virgil, Shamika, TJ, Moe, I think you guys are here. I hope you guys are here. Are they here? Yes, they are. Shamika, I'm gonna go to you first, just because this was, in my view, a woman-led event that they threw the matches. I sat and watched young black men respectfully disagree and have a conversation with these two guys. And then I saw him get surrounded, or not him get surrounded, but eventually a bunch of women showed up, started stealing things, taking things that wasn't theirs, and the thing got very emotional. What did you see?
First, Jason, I do want to commend the young guy who actually tried to have a conversation with them. I would say I thought this was a complete waste of time, though, Jason, and I think it's a waste of time for a few reasons. Number one, when you have a group of adults condoning the behavior of kids simply because they're saying there was no permit or they didn't have permission, no one's correcting the behavior of the children. They are actually condoning them having a lack of conflict resolution skills. So I think that was a complete waste of time. Secondly, I think it's a waste of time because it's like building a house on quicksand. When you think of the black community, we are lacking foundation. We have a community that believes in the matriarchy. We don't value men. We don't value fathers in the home. We don't value, we don't have religious soundness or any type of spiritual soundness. So what are we trying to build on? We have a group of people who can barely read and write, and we're actually thinking that they're going to have critical thinking skills to build on that. They aren't. So I think that this was a complete waste of time, waste of energy. I say shake the dust off your feet and move on. Go to people who's actually willing to have a conversation and who wants to build upon something.
Here's where I'll push back. And we'll talk to David Khait and we'll hear from him. He was one of the three gentlemen there. But I think it's not a waste of time what they're doing. I think just like in the 1950s and 60s, where the civil rights movement organized events to expose just how racist white people are, I think that white guys are being aggressive and saying, hey, we're going to expose just how racist black people are. We're going to show up and just try to start a conversation with them and then let nature take its course, or let the matriarchy take its course, and we'll have video. And this is like a Rosa Parks not getting up on the bus moment, and we got it all on tape. They video, and they're just like, now we'll just play the tape and let you decide, are we really the bad guys, or are these guys so racist that the thought of just having, again, it's not like these guys walked into these guys' dorm rooms, apartments, came inside any building. You had every right just to keep walking and keep moving and not engage with them. But this looked like a scene from the 1950s. There's that, I can't remember what school it's in, but there's a young black girl surrounded by a bunch of angry white people chasing her off a high school campus or college campus in the 1950s. And that's what this looked like to me. A bunch of angry black people chasing, we've just reversed everything. And so I think this is effective propaganda. Like, if you want to expose who the racists are, they just did it.
Yeah. Now, I would say if that's what they're going after, then they absolutely did that. They did show us who the racists are. I was just thinking, if you had real intention to have a real debate or a real conversation in the hopes that you would change someone's mind, I just really see that we are so far beyond that. Unless we get to the actual foundation and fix the foundation, I don't think there's any building on top of that.
Virgil, I'm probably still in disagreement with Shamika, because I think this is an effective strategy of debate and winning people over, because I think anyone with a brain that watches that video starts rethinking, like, what are they can't engage, they can't defend DEI, they can't defend the this illegal immigration that we got going on. Maybe DEI and illegal immigration are wrong. I find what these guys did very effective. What did you think, Virgil?
Yeah, it was effective, I think, if that was the intended outcome. If the intended outcome was to expose the racism that's a part of what black culture has and is, then it was effective. However, to the point that Shamika leans into, I'm gonna push the ball even farther and say what you witnessed there, whether or not it was the majority of what was going on at Tennessee State University or not. There were, if the school is 4,000, 5,000, 8,000 strong, that was a small group that were out there really creating a ruckus. That said, what we saw and witnessed is the fruit of what we see in video time after time with these mothers who have their kids attached to their hip. They go into the McDonald's, they order the large fry and get a medium fry, and now they're upset and they're train wrecking the entire McDonald's, right? And they've got it all on film, all the while the baby is attached to the hip. These are those babies who grew up watching that in a matriarchal culture with women teaching them what it looks like to disagree, to debate, and to create a ruckus. And now they're in college and they're doing the same things that their mothers taught them to do on their hip at the McDonald's. So that's what you're dealing with. And I don't know if that's the ceiling or the floor. And that's the problem. What Shamika is addressing is we don't know how low does the floor go so that we can then build a foundation on top of that to get folks to moving in the right direction. So I agree with you that, man, great to have debate. I've wanted to do that. I've wanted to go on these campuses and have those conversations. Myself and Darrell Harrison, we thought, hey, it'd be great to go to an HBCU. But my contention would be, if we did the exact same thing, we're in the same exact MAGA hats, we would get the same vitriolic response. Jason, you've been receiving that kind of a response, I mean, forever, no less the time frame since you've been doing this on Fearless for the last 5 years. I get the same response whenever I engage in that kind of behavior or talk about something that people disagree with but can't articulate why they disagree with it. They attach themselves to memes and to different ideas that really make absolutely no sense. They're just ad hominem attacks. I'm a jigaboo, or I'm some coon, or I'm some whitewash sellout, or whatever the case is. All the while exposing the fact that they indeed are the racists that they claim everyone else to be.
The most disappointing, maybe, the word I'm looking for, most disappointing thing is it didn't feel like anyone had the courage among the group of students, because you're right, they got 6,000 students, you got 100 of them out there making a mess, but of that 100, I didn't see anybody say, hey, cut it out, I'll debate them, or what are we doing here? Don't take their signs, don't do this, don't do that. Everybody seemed in agreement that no, these ideas are so provocative and so beyond the pale that the only proper response is to run these guys off campus with the threat of violence. And there, of the 100 kids, 120 kids, there's not one person saying, hey, there's another way, there's a better way. That's what really disappoints me.
I'll jump in and say this quickly, Jason. I'd be interested in your interview with the guys who were part of the organization. Most normally, when you bring a table and you set up something like that, there's somebody at the school that you've contacted to say, hey, we're coming, here's what we'd like to do, and here's where we'd like to do it. And then they allow you to do it or don't, and then they provide some sense of security. And security was close by, which gives me the thought process that the school knew something about what was going to happen, but rather than stand up strong and stand 10 toes down and chastise the students for their behavior, they would much rather bow the knee to the woke culture and the matriarchal leadership at the school and act as if they had no idea what was happening, that someone jumped on their campus inadvertently.
TJ, put you in the hottest seat. What'd you think? What did you think of this?
Happy to be in the hottest seat. Well, first, I just want to point out that had white guys not gone to an HBCU, they're either racist for not going there or they're scared and intimidated of the black people, okay? So there is no winning. You either go or you don't go. Either way, you are a loser. That's just how it is to be a white man today in America, according to the liberal media. But I will say this, real courage is going places where you're unwelcome and standing 10 toes down and telling the truth. And that is exactly what these guys did. That is courage. It doesn't take a lot of courage to go preach this message at Liberty University. Liberty University agrees with you, okay? So you go places. This is a place where you're clearly unwelcome. And so, I mean, look, this is what Charlie did in many ways, not at HBCUs, I don't think. But he went to liberal universities where he was unwelcome. And it started very slow. And eventually he changed minds. So like, what are we trying to do? We're trying to change minds, okay? So you go places where you are so far in the minority, and look at Charlie's last day of life. Virtually any liberal that came up to the microphone was jeered by all of the conservatives around them because he had changed so many minds. That is the goal. So we don't want to give up on black students, okay? The problem we have is this. The black leaders are the ones saying, quote, this was rhetoric deliberately designed to provoke, demean, and endanger the psychological safety of students at HBCUs. In other words, black people are too fragile to handle the truth. That is what the black leaders are telling us. All right, and so the black leaders at the university themselves, and certainly the NAACP, are trying to tell us, keep these ideas away, our kids can't handle it. And so you can't change minds when the black leaders are doing this. The last thing I'll say is this is not new. Riley Gaines, and this was the trans thing, and all these people were white. Riley Gaines was barricaded inside of a classroom for 3 hours at San Francisco State University in 2023 for giving a speech about how only biological women, but I repeat myself, should be competing in women's sports. And that, she was attacked by a confused man who thought he was a woman and barricaded inside of a classroom. So these sort of things are not new. Ben Shapiro in 2017 at Cal Berkeley needed 500 police officers that cost $600,000 in order for him just to give a speech at Cal Berkeley. Again, that was a lot of white people in the protest there. So this isn't new, but it is, right after the death of Charlie, obviously, and add in the HBCU element of it, it's something notable.
Shamika, just because, don't you live close to North Carolina A&T?
I do.
Yeah, and so just keep it at 100. I just saw a video last week, 2 weeks ago, of Charleston White getting run off a black college campus for saying things similar to what these white guys were saying. And The rate of violence on these HBCU campuses is significant with or without debate. It just, and so for these white guys to go there, even in the middle of the day, is high risk. And it would be justice, because I sat there and watched this, and I was like, hey, man, I should roll on over to Tennessee State and host a similar discussion. And I think the law enforcement would say, like, hey, the chances you coming out unscathed is not that high, Jason. You know, you could get shot. You could, you know, someone could throw fists or whatever. It's a whole little gang of them. It's just these HBCU campuses aren't the safest places on the planet, period, end of story. And if they are riled up and being justified in being riled up by the school administrators, the NAACP, there's real risk to engaging with these guys on ideas that they disagree with. And so they're kind of locked out of the debate in some ways.
Right, which is why I'm saying our foundation, or the foundation in Black culture, is not, we're too fractured. The foundation is weak. And so when you have, we're 3 to 4 generations in of bastards raising bastards, 3 to 4 generations in of the matriarchal culture, we have a lot of work to do. So when you think about trying to build on that, I'm looking at the signs, I'm seeing that the signs are talking about DEI. These kids weren't even smart enough to know that Black people are not the prime components of DEI. The sign talked about illegal immigration. None of these kids probably are illegal immigrants, yet they were so angry. So I'm saying, you said anybody with a brain will see this and maybe condemn the behavior. We got to look at the brains. What are the brains like? The brains are fractured. The brains are weak. The brains have been trained to think that women are in charge and that men hold no value. So until we actually get to the actual foundation and fortify the foundation, I'm saying it's going to be very difficult to build on that because the foundation is weak.
Shamika, TJ, Virgil, I'm going to let you guys go because I want to get to David Khait. He's one of the 3 men that were at Tennessee State and got harassed off campus. When we come back, we'll hear from David Khait next. They need Caitlin Clark, but they don't need the Caitlin Clark that thinks she's still playing at Iowa. And now that they've won a playoff series without Caitlin Clark in year 2, the narrative that Caitlin Clark is the greatest thing to ever hit the WNBA, that Caitlin Clark is the most important thing for the Indiana Fever to win, that's pretty much over. They went 8-5 this year with Caitlin Clark. They've gone 19-16. That includes the Commissioner's Cup without Caitlin Clark. Won their first playoff series since 2015. I just, the shine on Caitlin Clark has been diminished.
His words are aboriginal, regrets and our decisions. We all want to go to heaven with freedom. It's my obligation, no hate, discrimination, raising up your hands for freedom.
All right, welcome back. David Khait joins us. And let's go all the way back to, okay. David, now I know. Let's go all the way. Can we pull up the image from SOT 1 of I was going to say, which one of the 3 guys at this table, but I think you were on the far left. You were seated at the table. Yep. Yeah.
That's me on the far left. That's you
with the sunglasses on. Got you. And then is that Cam Higbee next to you? Who is that?
Yep, that's Cam Higbee next to me.
And then who's the third guy that was referenced as a Jewish guy that grew up in Boca Raton?
He's our organizer, our manager. His name's Andrew Bimo.
Gotcha.
Cam and I are the faces of the tour in terms that we sit and we have the conversations, the debates. Lance, which you can see in the middle of us right there running around, he's what we call our featured debater. So we sit down at these college campuses and have these debates for 5-6 hours. At some point, we need to go to the restroom. So we'll put Lance to fill in the chair. So it's a crew of 4 of us.
And how long ago did you guys start this?
Funny enough, 11 days ago, 4 of us got on the phone and decided that in the wake of Charlie Kirk's assassination, we're not going to let terrorists terrorize us, especially on college campuses where conservatives already feel as if they have to shy away from the fact that they're conservatives, nonetheless support an agenda that puts America first. We got on that phone and we decided, let's go around these college campuses. I've done this for over a year now, even months before the election, the previous election. I would go to college campuses and have these hard conversations with college students about whatever political and social issue that there is. But the main thing is that we always did it in a civil and tolerant way. And Cam and I both had that same approach. We call it the Charlie Kirk style, because you want to be civil and tolerant when you oppose individuals. And we thought that, in the wake of Charlie Kirk's assassination, that right now, more than ever, we should go out on these college campuses for 2 reasons. One, to show conservatives, again, that they should not feel terrorized, that they should still be able to engage in freedom of speech. And 2, when this happens to our side, of course, people are angry. I'm angry, but I'm not going to resort to political violence, to using my fists or some other political weapon, just because I disagree with people, especially in the time that I'm super angry when Charlie Kirk was assassinated just for expressing his freedom of speech. So our intention is to show up in campuses and show that even in the worst time possible for us conservatives, we don't resort to political violence. We still resort to using our words, because we live in America in 2025. This is in barbarian times, thousands of years ago, when you disagree with a person and you immediately resort to using violence.
You said you started doing this a year ago. Have you been visiting HBCUs, or have you been visiting any and every college, or what's been your history with HBCUs?
I don't necessarily have a history with HBCUs. I live in Atlanta, Georgia. I go to Georgia State University and do a lot of the content that I do there. It's a PBI, predominantly Black institution. I've never had an issue like the one that we received at Tennessee State University, but obviously I've never set up a table either at Georgia State University or any of these colleges until, 10 days ago. I go around to a lot of areas. I have these hard conversations with people, usually aligning with the current political climate. I go to DC and have the conversations in what people will consider the hood about the National Guard being there. I go to various college campuses and I engage in civil and very tolerant fashion and public discourse with various college students, regardless of the race, gender, whatever the case is. And I was doing this before the election in terms I would ask individuals why they are supporting Kamala over Trump and have that discussion with them. And then obviously after the election, that turned into, what do you think about Trump's presidency so far? So having these hard conversations in various campuses, regardless of their demographics. And I have to say the Georgia State University's demographic is very much aligned with Tennessee State University's demographic. So we didn't know that it was an HBCU till the evening before even. So to give you a little bit of background, that's kind of what I do.
Did I hear you correctly that you are a student at Georgia State as well?
I formerly was a student at Georgia State University. Yep.
And so you attended an HBCU intentionally. As a student, you chose to go to an HBCU.
Georgia State isn't an HBCU. It's a PBI, predominantly black institution. It's not that I chose it specifically, right? Georgia State has great credentials to it. I'll argue that it's been going downhill ever since the institution decided to dip into DEI practices in order to win federal grant money, which is a long history with how Georgia State University has slowly changed its demographic. But again, I went to Georgia State University not even thinking about the race or the demographic there, just simply because I grew up in Atlanta, Georgia, and I don't really look at individuals based on race. I'm an immigrant to this country. I legally migrated. Well, I won't always include that. But my intention essentially going to Georgia State had nothing to do with the race or anything like that. It was just a good school in my area.
Now, you've said something. You immigrated into this country. Where from?
I was born in Jerusalem,
long ago?
Israel. So it's funny when, nonstop I see on my Twitter people calling me a white supremacist, a Nazi. Folks in my family died as a result of Nazi Germany. So unfortunately, and we'll get into the conversation of this, but the whole purpose of us, I was listening to the panel earlier, my intention was not the outcome that everybody saw. Our intention is the same intention we had on 6-7 different previous campuses, which is to engage in a civil dialogue with individuals that obviously oppose us. I kind of forgot where I was spinning that, but yeah, that was definitely not our intention. And I forgot where I was going with that, but we'll go on.
Well, Virgil asked, and maybe you picked up on this, was like, did you receive permission? Did you alert someone that you were coming to campus? What's been your standard operating procedure as it relates to visiting college campuses?
Sure. In Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, and even in Washington when Cam visited it, the standard practice for universities is that there's a designated free speech area because of a public university. These are public properties. And in all of these states, you don't need a permit in order to have a table like we did and engage in civil dialogue with the students on campus, staff, anybody that walks by. To give you an example of this, people always that are not students of the campus walk their dogs in the evening across the college campus grounds in Georgia State University. They do that at Washington State University. They do it all around. HBCUs, most of the time, are private institutions, but the only reason why we ended up going to Tennessee State University is because the night before we found out that this is one of few public HBCUs. So this is a public institution. I want to debunk that right away. There's a common misconception I see on X right now that this is somehow a private institution. Private institutions absolutely have the right to regulate speech and who is able to be on their campus. But Tennessee State University, again, is a public university, which means that individuals like myself are allowed to be there. We're taxpayers, we pay for the institutions in the first place. But one thing I want to just kind of show everyone is that the school, and it seems like to be a repetitive pattern in Tennessee, that they don't allow individuals like myself to actually just show up to a public university. We need to let the administration know beforehand. We did that. We reached out as much as we can. We called them 10, 12 times. It goes directly, and I'll say this again, directly. The phone doesn't even ring. It goes straight to voicemail. Why? Because Tennessee, unfortunately, Tennessee State University, I just want to read this to you, has a red rating when it comes down to their freedom of speech. And this is given to them from the Foundation for Individual Rights and Expression. Why? Well, they have policies that restrict free speech by having at least one policy. They have 3 policies that infringe on students' rights, such as concerning harassment or demonstrations. So the reality of it is that it seems like a public university, which is funded by taxpayer money, that receives extra exemptions for their HBCU status, is actually violating the Constitution and our ability to express our freedoms on there, because they have the ability to arbitrarily decide what speech is and is not allowed on their campus grounds.
I can say this without too much trepidation that HBCUs and administrators answering phones, not a good history, not a good track record there. You would not be alone. And it's like, oh man, I went to go try to sign up for class and No one was there, so it doesn't surprise me you couldn't get your phone calls answered. What do you think about the allegation that you were endangering, what was it, the psychological safety of their students by expressing your ideas? Have you run into a lot of students that feel endangered by their psychological safety, feels endangered by your ideas?
Absolutely not. And I don't know how my words, I'm center right. That's the funny thing about it. I can't imagine what they would label a far right person that would show up on campus, but they stereotype me. That's the problem. And the funny thing is I'm there in order to destroy stereotypes, right? The reason why they quote unquote felt threatened is not because of my sign. My sign could have said whatever in the world it was. It was because the hat that I had on, Make America Great Again, and the color of my skin only contributes to that factor. In reality, none of my words, none of my expressions, if you look at the civil conversations that we were having, none of those things actually threatened them. They used that as an excuse for their behavior that day, as if it justifies why they should incite a mob and incite violence against us simply because of who I am. I just really don't get it, Jason. At the end of the day, it's worrisome that.
What time did you get there? How many discussions did you have that were civil, and how long did it take before it turned into what it did at the end?
Yeah, we got there around 3 p.m. We had about 5 minutes worth of friendly discussions. Let's say 10 minutes. We had a great conversation with two gentlemen. We shook hands afterwards with the first one. With the second one, we didn't get a chance to shake hands because of the mob already being there. And that's usually how our conversations go on every single campus. We arrive there. We let the administration know 10 minutes before we arrive there. They do everything to ensure that we are able to host this event. These schools actually want to have people there regardless of their position. And we shake hands always with individuals. Here, the problem is that we engaged in civil conversations. There was definitely people in the crowd that wanted to have that civil conversation, but then a group of 20 women just showed up out of nowhere as we were ending our conversation with the second person and started to kind of heckle us. The heckling then turned into yelling at us when another group of 20, 30 students arrived, and this all happened within a minute. And we realized quickly that we do have an issue here because we can, one, no longer have a civil debate with anybody that wants to have that debate. But two, it was becoming a little bit, you could see that I don't want to say that it was violent at that moment, but you could see that it was starting to gradually get worse and worse. And went again from just being like, oh my God, what are they doing here? Get off our campus, right? To actually yelling at us. And that gradually got worse and worse by the minute, right? We started to see more and more students show up. When you're in the minute, you don't know what's going on, but I would roughly say there was a group of 150 students that showed up within a few minutes after the first original group got there. And at that point, we're surrounded fully. Cops are around us. Our one private security guard is overwhelmed, can't really do much. And we start getting the threats. This is where I don't use these things lightly. I never throw around the word racism or anti-Semitic because I feel like it's overused and you shouldn't use it lightly. But we started to receive actual threats. And again, I never overuse this, but racist threats, right? Saying, white boy, you don't want to be here in 5 minutes when I get back with that thing, right? And you got to understand, I don't take these threats lightly in situations where, as you can see, a group of a lot of people starts to surround us relatively very quick. I've been to a lot of protests, very well organized protests. Never have I seen a protest or whatever this is form this quick, even the most paid, professionally organized protest. And at some point, somebody charged at me. I don't want to say charged, but took a couple steps with a screwdriver that he raised up from what I thought was his jacket. I'll tell you why I thought in a second, and put it over his head and kind of went towards me. I took a couple steps back, went inside the circle of cops, and that's when I let my crew know we have to get off campus immediately. Excuse me, before that, I'll let the cop know. I said, hey, watch this individual. He has a screwdriver in his hand. He just put it back in his jacket. And I told my crew that we have to go immediately because we don't know what's coming next. They're already threatening us. These are racist threats against us. And now they're also starting to pull out tools, and I don't want to be there whenever they pull another tool out. The cops immediately, and I'm thankful for them, they got together, and within 15 seconds, they came back to me and they said, we have to escort you guys off the grounds immediately for your safety. And maybe to go back just a second ago, when the cops initially got there 10 minutes before that, they weren't there to kick us off. They asked us if we have a permit. We said, no, we don't have a permit, but this is a public university. I believe we're allowed to be here. And then I asked them, it's on camera, you can hear it, are we being kicked out? The cop said, no, let me reach out to my supervisor and figure out where you guys should be, if this is the appropriate place. Let's figure out what's going on. So the cops weren't removing us off the grounds. The cops weren't, telling us that we're trespassing. That's another misconception that I see online. The cops were actively trying to figure out what can we do to host this event and where are we properly allowed to be. But how quick things escalated within those 10 minutes, the cops realized that regardless of where they put us, the amount of protection that we're going to get, a mob was inciting violence against us, to the point of where now there's a tool in the crowd that can be used to do anything against us. So the cops on themselves reached a conclusion that they have to escort us for our own safety. They took us to my car, which was parked about 7-minute walk away at the entrance of the school. And a group of 150 people, this is on my Instagram Live, so everybody can go see it. It's not edited whatsoever, marched behind us, screaming the most disgusting things ever in the name of Black power. That's what makes it worse. I don't want to repeat the comments that I was getting, but you can only imagine what I was getting. We finally arrived in my car. Before we arrived in my car, I told the cop that there's no way that we can allow these people to get into the parking lot because I won't be able to get out. I don't want them to see my license plate. I don't want anything. The cops were so overwhelmed. There's probably 10 cops, including our private security, 11 people there that are there to try and hold back 150 people, and they can't do that. And I just want to express that what pisses me off the most is that the statement from the school that this was professional and respectful manner, it's crazy. We got to my car, and obviously we were just swarmed around. They were banging on my car. They were keying my car. They were damaging my car. I don't even know how much thousands of dollars worth of damage there is on my car, throwing things at my car, banging on my car, trying to break our windows. We finally managed to pull out of my parking spot. We make it to the one-lane road to get out of the actual parking area there. And what do? The person in front of me stops. The person on the other lane stops right next to them and blocks us in. You can hear it on our Instagram Live and a couple of videos we made afterwards. They wanted us off campus. They chased us off campus, and now they're blocking us to stay on campus grounds. Why, Jason? We know why. We know exactly what these people wanted to do, and if there was no cops, no security, we know exactly what they would have wanted to do. And the craziest thing to me about this is that I was there to destroy the stereotypes. I had a great conversation with this young lady. She told me, she said, hey, we are DEI, so you want to just ban us? And I said, no, I'm DEI. I should be allowed on this campus. And she said, no, you're racist. And I said, why am I racist? And she said, because of the MAGA hat that you have on. And I said, aren't you stereotyping me exactly how some people stereotype your community? Is that what you want to be the thing? Like, you just want me to stereotype who you are based on the stereotypes? No. I want here to destroy the stereotypes so you can get to know me as an individual and understand why I think that DEI should be illegal. And we unfortunately only had the ability to have 2 conversations.
Holy cow, man. So it starts at 3 o'clock, and by 3:10, 3:15, it's descended into chaos, it sounds like. And what time do you think you guys left campus? What time were you finally driving off in safety?
Jason, our entire video that we captured, which we captured from the moment that we sat down at the table till the moment that we had to actually pack the camera because we were being escorted, was 38 minutes. So just understand that we had 2 conversations that lasted 5 minutes each, and then the tape rolled for another 28 minutes after that at 5 minutes of us prepping and whatnot. We were on college campus grounds for probably 40 minutes before we ended up having to pretty much have full security escort us off there into safety. And again, for our safety. I just want to stress this enough that we verbally asked, are we being kicked off? And the officer said, no, we're just not sure where you're supposed to be. And if you're even supposed to be here, let us, investigate, or they basically said, let me call my supervisor, and then gave us a phone number to reach the administration, which again goes straight to voicemail. So that's why.
Do you plan on continuing? Obviously, I think you will. Will you visit more HBCUs?
I don't think that there's the ability for us to actually visit any of these HBCUs for the simple fact that there's massive messages already going around to everybody, to all the HBCUs, saying do not allow these. They're calling us crackers, and in the middle they're putting KKK. So and again, the problem that I have with that is that if you're a private institution, do whatever you want to. You want to be actual fascist where you suppress the freedom of speech, be my friend. Do whatever you want to do. But public institutions that are HBCUs, which there's a few of, that take $90 million, like in Tennessee State University, from the federal government, should not be able to suppress my ability to come on their college campuses just because of the position I hold. They're framing us as Nazis again, as enemies of state, as domestic terrorists, the same thing that they've done for years that radicalizes people to go and shoot an individual on a college campus for the simple fact that they've been radicalized to believe that these are Nazis, enemies of states, domestic terrorists. So we're not going to back down. We're not going to let terrorists terrorize us into forfeiting the fundamental principles of this country, which is the freedom of speech and expression. They don't like that. They can expose themselves as they did yesterday, and they can double down and tell us that this was professional, respectful manner.
David, I think you've answered all my questions. I hope you got some hot chicken while you were here. Nashville's got great hot chicken. If you come back to Nashville, make sure you contact me and us. There's some people on my team that want to sue you guys for. I'm joking here, but you guys are calling yourself Fearless Tours. That was part of the other reason that I took a great interest. Like, hey man, these guys, my show is called Fearless, and these guys certainly are fearless. I think it was. You've made it crystal clear it wasn't your intention to, but I think you exposed a really dangerous form of normalized and promoted racism that needs to be rooted out of this country. That it can't be, oh, there's some white guys that like Trump and disagree with me, and therefore we get to abuse and mistreat them and pretend like they're beyond the pale. That is racism, and it needs to be called out. I think your video and what you guys did have brought it to the surface, and so now we can deal with it and talk about it rather than pretend and deny that it's out there. David, great job. I hope we stay in touch. I want to hear more about what you guys are doing, and we'd love to, have you back on the show, and Cam as well. Thank you so much. That was David Khait providing, a lot of good background information. Is Virgil, is he still around, or did he go on to other things? I know TJ's still around because he's going to be a part of my conversation with Steve Kim. But I wouldn't mind, if Virgil was around, I may ask him and Shamika a follow-up question. Virgil's gone. All right. Anyway, I want you guys to go to fearlessmission.com right now and get a subscription to everything we're doing here at Blaze TV. It's the most important thing you could do to support me and this show. and what all we're accomplishing here. You can get $20 off right now. It's just $8 a month for your annual plan. And you can also get my Pay Fans Respect t-shirts. When we come back, TJ and Steve Kim will join me. We'll talk a little sports, and we'll wrap this show up next. The most profound is that basically for the past 5 years, we've been living in George Floyd's America. He is that influential, and it's not sustainable to have a country and a society and a culture that is defined by a career criminal who died of a drug overdose while being restrained by a police officer. We have to come out of the George Floyd delusion, and perhaps what's happened here to Charlie Kirk, what happened to Irina in Charlotte on that train, maybe we are at the end of this George Floyd nightmare.
모두 다 빨리 박수 쳐 기다리지 말고 서둘러 이제 내란 back is to feed you raps I see that you up here below.
All right, welcome back. Steve Kim, TJ Moe joining me. Steve, I know you watch a lot of the show before coming on the show. I just wanted to give you a quick, if you wanted to react to anything we've done so far, the interview with David Khait, do you have any thoughts on that before I delve into a couple sports topics here?
Yeah, the only thing I would ask is, given the recent events with Charlie Kirk, if they have ever thought of, let's let the temperature cool down, let's let the tenor of the rhetoric kind of subside a little bit, and then maybe delay these visits. I was wondering if they felt like we have to do it now because there's no stopping this particular mission that we're on. But I'll be honest, I'm not surprised by what happened. I'm really not. You know, Thomas Sowell once said that having a frank discussion on race in modern day times is really about one group of people basically screaming their grievances at another, and that group of people having to accept it. And unfortunately, we saw more examples of that with that particular situation.
All right, Steve, TJ, CJ Stroud has been parading around in Yankees and Mariners hats, and some Houston Astro fans don't like it and are upset. I want to play shot number 5. This is C.J. Stroud, I think, getting asked about fans being upset with him about his hat choice as it relates to the Yankees. Let's play shot 5.
I don't see none of it. I'm not on social media. And yeah, I honestly, that everybody has, you know, like the right to their opinion. If they don't like what I wear, I would just not look at it if I was them. So I'm going to wear what I want. You know, and I don't think I'm being disrespectful. If I was being disrespectful, then that's a whole different, you know, like case. But, you know, at the end of the day, everybody's entitled to their opinion. I'm all good. But yeah, I just don't really pay attention to it. And, you know, I just try to just focus on what I can control and focus on the people who pour into me and around me. So, yeah.
Let's play shot 6. This is him talking about the Mariners hat he's been wearing. Let's play shot 6.
Can you tell me about your decision to wear that?
Yeah, I mean, I love hats. Like, I wear hats all the time. I probably have every team, but I support, you know, the Astros and the Dodgers because I'm from LA and love, you know, it's kind of contradicting, but I still love the Astros, but it's all good. I understand, but it's all about the swag, baby. I'm just kidding.
Control what you can control. Well, you can control what hat you wear. And, you know, when you're off to a slow start, oh, you got no problem with this, Steve? Go ahead.
Here's the thing. If it was another National Football League team, I would completely say, hey, hold on, you got to wear your gear. I remember Colin Kaepernick years ago, before he became an activist, wore a Dolphin hat. And that was a big thing. And even his own teammates, I remember Navarro Bowman actually said, oh, hold on, wait a minute, you're a Niner. Baseball's baseball. There's no rule that says that if you get drafted into a city with another Major League Baseball franchise or any other team, that you have to support that team. Again, C.J. Stroud is from Southern California. He's going to have certain allegiances. But I also think this, guys, if he was performing like Dan Marino in 1984, I don't think any of those fans would have any issue with whatever lid he wore.
TJ, big deal, little deal, no deal?
Well, first, I really like C.J. Stroud. Every time he talks, I'm interested. He just seems like a good kid. But I will say this: I am officially putting in a new suggestion for the Pay Fans Respect T-shirt that I know we just got. It's sitting right behind me. Let's add it to the. Stop wearing hats of teams in cities that you are not the quarterback for. Okay, I think it's a very easy, simple thing, and it doesn't. Like Steve's right. Is it a big deal at all? Of course not. It's not. But like, do you want to connect a little more with the fans? Maybe just wear an Astros hat. Like, it's all about the swag, baby. Okay, we'll buy it. You know how many different types of Astro hats there are? I bet you could find 75 different types. Okay, you could find 75 different types of your own hat for the Texans, the team that you actually play for. And I get it. If you want, you like the Dodgers, do your thing. But the Seattle Mariners, really? The New York Yankees, really? Steve up. He's from LA. Great. If you wore a Dodgers hat, that is one thing. It's my hometown team. I got friends on the team. I like these guys, whatever. But even still, I just think if you're the quarterback for a city, it would pay dividends to support the city that you are in and their teams.
Yeah, I think I'm right there with TJ. It's just needless. You don't need this drama, and they got their own. He's got his own struggles. The team's got its own struggles. This thing's going to actually end up having repercussions that he couldn't see, because I'm sure when he's wearing these hats, he's thinking, hey, I'm going to be playing at a high level. Everybody's going to love me, and just going to have to deal with it. Well, he's not playing at a high level. The Houston Texans are struggling. And as I said, I believe yesterday or the day before, a lot easier to get rid of your quarterback than your head coach, because half the league is black quarterbacks, small number of black coaches. CJ's about to learn a tough lesson if he's not careful. I want to move on to Bill Belichick and Jordon Hudson. They're on the cover of Us Weekly. I just can't believe that he's putting this on the cover of a magazine. I've heard of midlife crisis. I've heard of men that get whipped by you know what, but on the cover of a magazine with your sugar baby, to me this feels like some sort of ritual, humiliation ritual that he's being a pleasurable one, a fun humiliation ritual, I guess. But that's what this feels like to me, and it's opened Belichick up to a level of criticism that I'm sure he never anticipated. Here's Gene Chizik talking about Belichick and distractions.
And I see a team, Dan, that is so un-Bill Belichick-ish, if that makes sense. They don't finish drives. They turn the ball over. They can't tackle. They give up explosive plays. Those are all the things that when he was the head coach winning Super Bowls, those were the things you didn't see happen. And now they're coming really on a regular basis. So that would beg the question of this. Is it a coaching problem? Is it a roster problem? He had 70 new guys come in there. That's what I read. Can't verify that. That's what I read. You got a roster of 70 new dudes. So yes, it does take time for things to come together, but not when you're talking about blatant missed tackles, blatant penalties, blatant explosive plays, blatant giving up sacks, all of the things that create negative, outcomes to games. That's what's happening. And then the whole girlfriend distraction with all the stuff going on, it's the optics just are what they are, right? Is he really focused? Is he really focused like he was before? I don't know the answer to it. I'm just telling you what the optics look like. Those questions have to be asked. You have former players going, now, wait a minute. The guy always talked about eliminating distractions. And that's kind of all you see there is distractions. So which one is it? So I don't know. I'm not there up close and personal, but it's definitely not the outcome that the UNC folks are hoping for right now.
Steve, are you shocked to see Bill as a cover boy with his sugar baby?
At this point, no. And it couldn't have come at a worse time. Look, I understand the way the media works a little bit, and I'm sure this cover was planned out months ago. But to come out on the same week after you get just blown away by USF, and on a game day where once again she's on the sideline before the game, I think that's the greatest irony. And Jason, you and I have talked about it. The man who said the Patriot Belichick way was about eliminating distractions and we're just about ball. I want to make this clear. I don't care who he's with. I really don't. I don't even care about the age. It's not my business. But the fact that it's been out so public and it's been thrown out there, how can we not ignore it and make it a story? And if I'm a former player of his that went through the whole process and didn't have as much fun as some of my ex-college teammates had, because I was on this organization, if I'm looking at him now, I'm thinking to myself, Jason, very simply, what a hypocrite.
TJ, this is your favorite coach. What are your thoughts here? And by the way, Steve said USF. I think he meant UCF, Central
UCF,
Florida.
yes.
Just yeah. TJ.
Yeah. So, you know how bad UNC is regarding this, right? You know, there's a lawsuit right now going on. It got filed today, where one of the former administrators is suing UNC for hiring Belichick behind closed doors. This is how poorly this is going. Yes, this is happening. It's in the New York Post right now. It's Chris Clemens is the guy's name, a former UNC administrator. He says there's a pattern in practice now that they hired him behind closed doors and for concealment, and they're concealing conference realignment talks. And so all this is happening. This is how upset UNC is right now with the hiring of Bill Belichick, and they're embarrassed about it. And I cannot help, it's not exactly the same thing, certainly not apples to apples, but I cannot help but see a little bit of resemblance to the conversation we had yesterday about Russell Wilson, a guy that had such a rock solid start to his career, got involved with a woman that very clearly doesn't align with the identity that he had been, and the second half has been a disaster. And look, I don't know if Ciara's got a whole lot to do with Russell Wilson's inability to throw the deep ball anymore, but I do think Jordon Hudson's got a lot to do with Belichick's inability to coach. I mean that. I from a guy that I saw his former girlfriend. I think her name was Linda. She was around the facility, and you know, she was an appropriate woman that would kind of follow him around, and he was clearly in charge. And now Belichick follows Jordon Hudson around, and he's the one on the leash, and he's about 20 feet behind her, and wherever she says, hey, stop doing that, Bill, he says, okay, yes, ma'am, whatever you need. And it's embarrassing, and he's lost respect from even people like me who have at least, I would still maintain today he's the greatest coach ever, but he's certainly throwing some questions into that. I mean, you know, he could have retired, and I would have maintained forever he's the greatest coach to ever live. And instead now he is, you said this 6 months ago, 9 months ago, privately, what you just said, that this is like, would you call it an embarrassment ritual or a
humiliation ritual?
I don't have any other explanation. I thought it was such a crazy thing for you to say 9 months ago. I don't have another explanation other than he's so tied up in this 24-year-old that he was willing to sacrifice his entire reputation in his life for, you know, a good 3.5 minutes every night. I don't know. Jason,
I'm just telling you, and I know you know what I'm talking about. Like Floyd Mayweather, Rocky Marciano, it's undefeated. It is undefeated. And you talk about a midlife crisis. The midlife crisis, I've always thought of a middle-aged man or older man getting a Corvette. He's not on the cover of Car and Driver here, fellas. He's on the cover of Us Weekly. Jason, one of these days when this is all over, you're going to have to get your old buddy Bubba Cunningham. Oh, I can't wait to see what Bubba Cunningham has to say about this.
Jason, let me do you know how crazy this is from somebody who, again, do you know how obsessed with legacy Bill Belichick is? I'm telling you, I personally experienced this obsession. The guy loves history. Yes. He loves nothing more than studying history, and he shames you for not knowing it. He shames you for, we used to go around, there were guys all over the walls in the cafeteria and each room, different places. They had Patriot greats. And not just that, like he would quiz you on the holidays, okay? He embarrassed Aaron Dobson one time, a second round pick out of Marshall, for not knowing the difference between Veterans Day and Memorial Day. I mean, destroyed him in front of the whole team. Like he was a teacher, but also he wanted you to know history. He really, really understood how important legacy was. So to take that bill that I witnessed, that you needed to know every guy that ever contributed to the Patriots dynasties, you had to know everything about them. It was important to you being on this team. To turning himself into this guy and destroying his legacy, I can't make sense of it. It is the craziest thing I've ever watched.
I think that, and Steve, maybe you could help me out here, but I think that getting fired and having that thing fall apart with the Patriots mentally broke Bill Belichick. I just, you have all that success for 20 years. You push all your chips into the table and say, hey, I want to move on from Tom Brady. And it all blows up in your face. And now we're just looking at a mentally broken man. Maybe that's it.
Or he's desperate. Jason, I get the sense he still wanted to coach. And in this business, unfortunately, they cut you before you cut them. And he still felt like, hey, I still have something in the tank here. And then he found out the rest of the National Football League had kind of moved on, right? So maybe at this point he said, I want to coach somewhere, anywhere. And out of desperation, he took this job. I never looked at him as a modern day college football coach. I really didn't. And Jason, you could draw the analogy. You said a couple of days ago that if Russell Wilson would have quit or had a broken leg or just walked away from football right around his 9th, 10th season, we look at him completely different. Well, if Bill Belichick would have just said, you know what, I've had my run. Bob Kraft doesn't want me. I'm actually done with coaching. His reputation right now would be completely different also.
Belichick's, Jason, Belichick's definition of mental toughness is doing what's best for the team, even when it's not best for you. It's exactly the opposite of what he's doing right now. It proves your point. They broke him. He has no mental toughness. He's doing what's best for him in his bedroom, and he's sacrificing his team because of it.
To me, what the equivalent would be, what you're talking about, TJ, is if and because trust me, I'm well aware. It's like if I hopped on the racial idolatry bandwagon, if I started preaching that systemic racism explains everything and did the flip and did whatever, they'd rain money on me. They just rain money on me. But I would be sitting like, man, I built my whole life around speaking against racial idolatry. But I just couldn't imagine getting so broken that I would just violate everything that I stood for. And I'm not excusing or even trying to normalize what he's doing here with the Jordon Hudson, but I think most people would understand it and if this was something he was doing just totally in his private life, if she wasn't on the sidelines, if everybody kind of knew, hey, Bill's got this young girlfriend, but you never heard from her. She wasn't on magazine covers. She wasn't in TV interviews. I think everybody would be like, okay, it's weird. But the fact that he has centered it in this way, he's mentally broken and he just like turned into such a selfish person after getting fired that he's just like, I don't care. I don't care what people think about me. I'm actually going to throw it in my face. I'm going to throw it in Robert Kraft's face. I'm out here having fun, and I got my little young thing. This is unbelievable. I will say, I think, Steve, you mentioned Sports Illustrated, and I know the magazine has no clout and, no real traction, but what would you pay, if I was Sports Illustrated, what do I pay to get Jordon Hudson on the cover of the swimsuit issue? I actually think that's the only thing that actually would sell.
See, I mean, come on. I mean,
No?
She'd be a better choice than the recent ones they've had the last 15 years.
Yeah.
I will leave it at that.
Yeah. All right, let me keep moving here and correct something I said earlier. Matt Shaw is a Cubs player, but it was Mets broadcasters who were critical of Matt Shaw for leaving the Cubs for one game and attending Charlie Kirk's funeral. Shaw, young player with the Cubs, friends with Charlie Kirk. Charlie Kirk is originally from Chicago, bit of a Cubs fan. Let's play Matt Shaw talking about, I think originally, about attending. Let's play shot number 8 about attending Charlie Kirk's funeral.
His wife Erica had texted me asking me if I would come to the funeral, and I felt as though it was something that was really important for me to do.
Are you concerned about the backlash, because there is a lot of politics involved with this?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I'm not concerned at all. No, my connection with Charlie was through our faith, and that's something that drives me every day. That's the reason why, I'm able to do what I do every day, and that's something I'm extremely thankful for. I know without my faith and without the many blessings I've been given in my life that I wouldn't be here, able to talk to you guys, able to help this team eventually go and win championships. So that's something I feel really, really blessed about. So whatever backlash comes is okay. I feel strong about my faith and that what was meant to be happened.
All right, so here are Mets broadcasters discussing Matt Shaw's decision to leave the Cubs for one day to attend a funeral of a friend, which seems. But anyway, let's play the clip.
In a row, Matt Shaw leads off for the Cubs. He had a base hit his first time up. Shaw had Cubs World in a tizzy this weekend when he was not here for the Cubs game with the Reds. Game they lost 1-0, and in which his lack of presence was felt. It was later revealed that he had been given permission to attend Charlie Kirk's funeral. And I don't want to talk about any of the politics of it, but the thought of leaving your team in the middle of a race for any reason other than a family emergency really strikes me as weird.
It's unusual. I think it's unprecedented, at least from my experience as a player, and I think it made it a little bit more unusual that it was not revealed until after it came to issue, because he was thought to be in the dugout and maybe available, and then was not, and that's how it was revealed. So it became maybe more of a story than it could have been had it been addressed from the beginning.
Shaw strikes out to start the inning. Do you think the fact that he's a rookie changes the equation at all? It makes it more or less egregious?
As I said, I think it's something that would certainly be unusual during my era. But then again, there was no paternity leave. There was no bereavement leave when I played at all. You showed up and, just found a way to get through work. But that has changed. That has changed.
Well, but I thought it was telling that the reason that they didn't tell anybody and that they had to play a man short was that the situation did not qualify for baseball's bereavement list.
Bereavement is direct.
Got to be family. So
right.
I think that in and of itself gives you a clue as to how it was received by a lot of people in any event.
So in any event, I think that if these were the Milwaukee Brewers broadcasters, if these were the Houston Astros broadcasters, if these were Chicago White Sox broadcasters, I think that these guys, New York broadcasters, and they have to live in New York, changes the tenor of this conversation and perhaps boxes them in. If they're going to talk about it, there was only one way for them to talk about it, in a way that wouldn't put them in hot water in New York. And what I mean by that is these guys love to go out to eat, I'm sure, socialize. Their kids are in school in New York or whatever. If you don't want to face the backlash of being a conservative in New York, potentially have your food spit on, get bad service at a restaurant, it kind of boxes these broadcasters in. It's hard for me to believe that they can't see, like, hey, man, this is a unique situation. This guy was assassinated in a political deal, and a lot of it had to do with his faith. And the fact that they couldn't make that argument, which I do think crosses their mind, but they couldn't do it because they live in New York. And this is why I've been trying to tell people, if you're a conservative, get out of California, get out of New York, get out of places where you can't actually say and believe what you really think. Steve, your thoughts?
So you're saying there's liberals in New York. A couple things. I love the way he prepped, not to make it political. And I'm thinking, now I know this guy's politics. It turns out this guy Cohen, I don't know if it's true or not, but I'm reading that, or saw that he left. He didn't attend a game because of a family pet. And I'm like, hey, buddy, you got a job. You can fish your goldfish down the toilet with your daughters near you. When you come back from the road trip, where you could bury Garfield in your backyard the next day, I don't get it. The thing that really changes it is that Charlie Kirk's wife, according to him, asked him, can you come? So obviously they have a close relationship. Jason, I'll go another direction. Let's say it's a player from the inner city and one of his close childhood friends dies in a shooting and misses a game. Would that guy dare say, well, wait a minute, hold on, that's not your brother. Why are you missing a game? They wouldn't, you know it and I know it, they wouldn't dare have that tenor in that type of conversation.
TJ?
It's a stupid conversation to have if you're going to have it like that. I understand limitations, and your point might even be correct. They're boxed in New York. I don't know. I've refused to even visit New York, and so I don't know anything about it. Don't want to. Not interested. But then don't have the conversation because you look like an idiot. And I don't think you have that conversation unless you agree with what you're saying truly. Because guys who are on the other side of the political aisle, because the first thing he said is, well, let's not get into the politics of it. Let's just talk about how crazy it was that he did this. Well, if you were on the other side of the political aisle, you wouldn't think it was crazy. And also, you might have some faith if you did that. It sounded to me like two liberal atheists having a conversation about how upset they were that somebody who didn't agree with their way of life operated one single day as the mourning widow of a guy who had a memorial service that over 100 million people live streamed. I think there were 20 million people watching on different channels, okay, plus the live stream. People were interested. There was a revival, and you got A's. You know how many people, Erica Kirk, okay, with all of the things she's dealing with, to personally reach out to him, the guy probably would have walked to Arizona to get there, to be there for her. Who would not do that? Like, it's an absurd position to take.
It's not like Erica Kirk reached out to, who's the biggest star? Shohei Ohtani. Or who is Mike Trout still a big deal? Is he still playing? Because I'm just going to keep it real. This story, when it first, but she reached out to a rookie on the Cubs. So she wasn't inviting the guy for clout. She wasn't inviting, hey, the biggest star in Major League Baseball came to, no, they clearly had a sincere relationship and bond over faith and love of sports, and she invites him. For these guys not to be able to, it's mind-blowing. Gentlemen, we're going to be quick here. Keith Olbermann issued an apology to Scott Jennings. Let me read it. I apologize without reservation to Scott Jennings. Yesterday, I wrote and immediately deleted 2 responses to him about Jimmy Kimmel because they could be misinterpreted as a threat to anything besides his career. I immediately replaced them with ones specifying what I actually meant. Keith Olbermann had posted on X yesterday or the day before, "Your next MFer." Do you accept Keith's apology here? Surprised by it? Accept it? Steve Kim.
Very simply, I'm not surprised. We shouldn't accept it. And as they say, the crime is really not as bad as the cover-up. This here was a cover-up.
TJ?
Well, what I really think, and I truly, truly mean this, I mean, at a high level, I think we need to pray for Keith Olbermann. I mean it. If there is one demon-possessed person in America, I'm not even joking this. If there's a demon-possessed person in America, it's Keith Olbermann. I think he is that level of like his soul has been invaded. And so that is what I would say. Do I believe this is a sincere apology? No, I don't. I actually think this guy needs legitimate prayer. Like he needs Jesus more than anybody in America today. He needs to be in a mental institution. I think he's that unstable. And so my advice is prayer for him. And I spend very little time thinking about whether or not he's sincere. I don't even think these are his words.
All right, gentlemen, that's all I got for you. I thought maybe, and thank you guys, great job as always. I thought I may circle back to Virgil, but I don't think he's ready to go. And so we'll end today's show. We may pick up the discussion about Tennessee State tomorrow. Thank you guys for sticking with me. Thank you guys for dealing with my cough. I think I'll be feeling better tomorrow. Make sure you go to fearlessmission.com, become a subscriber, sign up for the annual plan that connects you to everything we're doing here, and you can get your Pay Fans Respect t-shirt. All right, we'll play tomorrow. We'll see you tomorrow.
Freedom, looking for a breakout, feeling like a standoff, nothing in life like freedom. Came like a fighter, striking like a ladder, making all these moves for freedom. I want freedom. No negotiation, my sister, no relation. We all just wanna have freedom. Sitting on a corner, never been alone. I'm breaking my back for freedom. Blessed, we are living, get back. We are receiving, all deceiving. We all wanna be free. We want freedom. I wanna be. I just wanna be. I just wanna be. I just want.